What's up, guys, and welcome to the weekly Q&A. Today's first question is about Aftermath Empire's End, and it could be considered a spoiler. It's very light, no plot details, but if you want to just play it safe and skip all that, I'm putting the time code to skip 2 up right now. Richard BB and a ton of other people have asked me to weigh in on the fate of Jar Binks. Pretty much every Star Wars YouTuber and their mom has already talked about this, but if you didn't see any of those videos, the gist of it is that after the Clone Wars, Jar Jar was ostracized by everyone on Naboo. They basically thought that he intentionally helped the Empire, and as an outcast, he was basically forced to become a street performer. And this chapter really surprised me. I actually felt sympathetic for him, and I have never ever liked Jar Jar, even as a kid, so to actually sympathize with this guy, I was very confused, to say the least. And there's no denying, he's not a bad guy, he's not evil, he was manipulated, and it's sad to see him in this state, no matter what your feelings on him are. He didn't deserve it, let's just say that. But I like that he is still optimistic. He entertains orphans for a living, basically. So I think it makes sense. I think the direction that Chuck Wendig or Lucasfilm, whoever said that they should do this, I think it was a good decision, and I think it gives closure to everyone on Jar Jar, whether they're fans of the character or not. Bear wants to know why Imperial officers like Wullf Yularen can go from being heroes of the Galactic Republic to villains in the Galactic Empire. Now keep in mind that most of the stories that we see are told from the point of view of the rebels, so of course the Empire is going to be painted as bad, but they aren't necessarily. Now, I'm recording this on Friday, the day before the next Rebels episode Through Imperial Eyes comes out, but I'm hoping that Wullf Yularen is painted in a noble light. I hope he's not all of a sudden doing evil things, because that's not his character. He was a good guy. If you read books like Lost Stars, the Imperials, they don't think they're evil. They think they're legitimately helping provide stability to the galaxy. It really gets into their heads, and it helps you see why someone could rationalize working for a government that blows up planets. And even then, like, a lot of Imperials were like, whoa, that's not cool. So they're not evil. I don't think Wullf Yularen is going to be a villain. I think he's just going to be a guy that is on the wrong side of the war from our heroes' perspectives. Shane Sutton asks how Palpatine can force choke Dooku even though they're on completely separate planets, and this happens in the Clone Wars. I think the Force can do a lot of things, and in The Empire Strikes Back, we've seen an example of Vader force choking Admiral Ozzel, and they weren't in the same room. They were on the same ship, yeah, but you don't need to be standing right next to someone to use the Force on them. I think visualizing probably has a lot to do with it. So let's say Vader's in the room with Admiral Mahdi. It's very easy to imagine choking the guy, so he force chokes him. Now let's move to The Empire Strikes Back. He sees Ozzel on the holographic projection, and he knows where he is on the ship, probably, so he can very easily visualize force choking him. It's probably the same thing with Dooku and Palpatine. Palpatine knows what planet Dooku's on, he's probably seen that location, and Palpatine is crazy strong in the Force, so it's not that much of a stretch to believe that he can force choke anyone, anywhere, probably even without visualizing it. I don't know how the Force works, but that's just the whole visualizing thing is what helps me understand it. I bet Palpatine can do something even beyond that. Jacob Kasnoff wants to know what those pins in everyone's pockets are. I'm actually probably going to do a video of this down the line, but I'll go ahead and answer it here too. They're not pins, they're code cylinders. They actually carry security and rank information so people can easily access restricted areas or information. They're like scanning cards that you don't have to scan. You just walk up to a door and it can read whether or not you're allowed to go in or not. And by the way, Jacob Kasnoff has a really cool channel of his own where he recreates props and costumes, and a lot of it Star Wars stuff. He didn't ask me to give him a shout out or anything. I'm just doing this because I have actually been a fan of his channel for quite a while, and he just did a video where he made an X-Wing flight suit. I'm going to call it a Biggs costume, so I just had to give him a little plug, and I put a link to his channel in the description. Esteban Ortiz asked a non-Star Wars question and wants some marketing advice for a first-time marketer, because that's what my work background is. I have always been involved with digital and video marketing, which is why I got into YouTube, so that's kind of where my focus has always been and where I feel the most good giving advice about. So I would say to just focus on making the best content that you can, whether you're trying to rank on Google or succeed on YouTube, whatever you're trying to do, focus on your content. People are always going to be coming at you telling you that they found the secret to ranking on Google, or that they found like the secret sauce for YouTube. And a lot of times those things will work for a little while, but a lot of them are a little bit shady. They're gaming the system, and they're just in this morally gray area. If you ever come across something like that, I would advise you to not do it. I have seen it happen over and over again where people hop on this new fad and they'll rank on Google for a while. Their website will jump to the top, but they're doing something that Google is eventually going to consider spammy, and they're going to penalize that site, and they're going to have to start from scratch. I've seen it happen over and over. So I say, work on making the best website or the best videos that you can. Don't ever do something that makes you think it might be a little bit shady. That's it for patron questions. If you're a patron and you didn't see your question answered here, I left you a written response on Patreon. If you're not a patron, you can learn more by following the link in the description. Just $1 a month will get you access to some extra Star Wars Explained goodies, including a monthly giveaway of a year-long subscription to Smuggler's Bounty, and the next drawing is coming up next week. And the combined donations really go a long way in supporting the channel. Moving on to YouTube questions, Lucas Ivanov wants to know if I think we could ever see any prequel planets show up in episodes 8 or 9. Yeah, I think it's very possible. In fact, I think that showing Darth Vader's fortress in Rogue One is setting up for a return to Mustafar. I would love to see Kylo Ren in that fortress now that Darth Vader's been gone for 30 years. Like, it's all run down, but he's still in this just place that's, I assume, smothered in the dark side. Like, I would love to see something like that. Lord Vader wants to know why Greedo speaks basic in the Clone Wars, but not in A New Hope when he's talking to Han. I think that's probably just so they could avoid using subtitles in the show and make it more accessible to kids. But in universe, maybe Greedo just knew that Han would understand him if he didn't speak in basic. Devil Hunter asks why Yoda didn't warn Luke about Force lightning or tell him he could block it with a lightsaber. I'm gonna go headcanon here and say that it's possible Yoda did tell him and did warn him. By throwing his lightsaber away, he's telling the Emperor, I'm a Jedi, I'm not gonna kill my father no matter what you do. Even if you shoot lightning at me, I'm not gonna change my mind. Jack Challenge wants to know if there could be a Suicide Squad type movie, except with the bounty hunters of Star Wars. I think that would be really cool. I would much rather see like a group bounty hunter movie instead of just like a Boba Fett film. I want to see them all in action, but hopefully that film turns out to be better than Suicide Squad, because that movie was rough. And the last question of the day goes to Oliver P. Attila, who wants to know what happened to the crew of the Hammerhead cruiser that smashed into the Star Destroyers in Rogue One. Most of the crew before they went in jettisoned in escape pods, so they're fine. But the captain and a skeleton crew did have to stay on and pilot it in. They felt it was too delicate a maneuver for droids or the autopilot to be trusted, so some people did have to stay on and they did die, and all that's according to the Rogue One novelization. That's all the time I have for questions today. If you want to leave one for next week's Q&A, just put it in the comments below or head over to Patreon. If you haven't already, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. As always, thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you.